Hello friends, today we will be discussing about the Orban's oral histology and embryology. It has the first introductory chapter in which there comes all the introduction of the oral cavity tissues. So oral cavity tissues are divided into two types, hard and soft tissues. The hard tissues actually consist of the jaw bones and tooth structure, whereas the soft tissue consists of lining mucosa and salivary gland. The tooth structure visible in mouth is known as the clinical crown. Now, what is the clinical crown? Now, clinical crown actually is a tooth structure which is visible to the normal eyes. The clinical crown doesn't actually determines the actual length of the crown, because that is known as anatomical crown, which could be way longer than it is visible into the mouth. So the length of the clinical crown and the anatomical crown can vary in the normal condition as well as in the diseased condition. Now the tooth is suspended into the alveolar bone by the periodontal ligaments. These periodontal ligaments are the fibers. These fibers actually holds the tooth. Now comes the anatomical crown is covered by enamel and the root is covered by the cementum. The enamel is the outermost covering of the anatomical tooth, and the cementum is the outermost covering of the root. This cementum actually protects the root tissue and also helps to bind the periodontal fibers to the root, which holds up the root or the tooth into its place. And the enamel is a covering which protects the tooth. The periodontium. Periodontium is a term which is given to the supporting tissue of the tooth. They include all the supporting tissues, the tissues which is surrounding the tooth, which is helping the tooth to stay into its place and stay in a healthy state. These could be cementum, periodontal ligaments, alveolar bone. Now comes the another thing which we will be discussing in detail. First of all, there is development of the tooth. The tooth is actually formed from the ectoderm and ectomesenchyme. The enamel is derived from the enamel organ, which is differentiated from the primitive oral epithelium lining of the stomatium. Stomatium is also known as the oral cavity. Now there comes the dentine formation. The dentine formation starts on the tooth as the first hard tissue structure. It is towards the pulp, whereas the enamel formation occurs just after the first layer of dentine formation occurs, and it is outward to the tooth. Now both combine or meet at the dentino-enamel junctions. So dentino-enamel junction is basically a place where the dentine and enamel both combine with each other. The dentino-enamel junction is of scalloped shape. This is helpful for the retention of enamel to the tooth structure. Now comes the enamel. Enamel is actually the hardest tissue of the body and only ectodermal derivative of the tooth. Inorganic constituent of the enamel is consistent of 96%, and the main component of the enamel formation is calcium phosphate. This calcium phosphate forms the hydroxyapatite crystals. These crystals are arranged in a rod shaped form. Now, enamel is the only hardest tissue which does not have the collagen fiber or collagen matrix. This collagen matrix is actually the organic matrix, but enamel lacks this. Now comes the dentine. Dentine forms the bulk of the tooth. Actually, whole of the tooth which is we are seeing is basically formed of the dentine. It forms the basic structure of the tooth and provides its shape. And enamel just covers the part of the dentine or covers the overall part of the tooth structure, which is an anatomical crown. Now the dentino-enamel junction is scalloped shape, as we have already discussed. It provides it mechanical retention and helps the enamel to stay in its place. Now dentine forms throughout the life. The reason could be or repair or as a result of any kind of irritation. The cells which forms the dentine lies at the surface of the pulp. Hence, the dentine protects the pulp and the pulp nourishes the dentine. So, basically, the dentine is helpful in protecting the pulp. The pulp is the vascular tissue which is present to make a tooth alive. Okay, after the removal of the tooth, after the removal of the pulp, the tooth becomes dead. So, it is really important for a tooth to be nourished by a pulp, to be said as alive. And if the tooth becomes dead, it becomes really brittle, and that is the reason we need a crown over an RCT treated tooth, because after the removal of the pulp, it will be really hard for a tooth to retain all the mechanical forces and to allow the all the masticatory forces over it. Now, next comes the pulp. The only soft tissue of the tooth, it is a loose connective tissue that is enclosed by the dentine. The pulp actually responds to any stimuli by pain. The pulp contains the odontoblasts. These odontoblasts are terminally differentiated cells, and when these are dead, they are replaced by pool of the undifferentiated ectomesenchymal cells in the pulp. The pulp is continuous with the periodontal ligament through the apical foramen or through the lateral canal in the root. The average volume of the pulp is 0.02 centimeter cube. Now, the pulp is really important to make the tooth vital. It provides a lot of advantages to the tooth. It nourishes the tooth. It provides the undifferentiated cells to the tooth, which is helpful to in the repair function. Whenever the tooth is in a stressful state, whether it is due to any kind of disease, irritation, caries, or whatever the reason is, or it could be excessive masticatory force or any other source of irritation to the tooth, it actually provides the all of the reparative cells. The undifferentiated cells present in the pulp actually do differentiate into certain kind of cells, rather which is required at the place, whether it is the odontoblast, which is the bone forming cells, cementoblast, which is the cementum forming cells, or any other cells. This consists the pool of cells which are helpful in the formation of different kind of cells. So it is a really important organ or part of the tooth. Now comes the cementum. Cementum actually lines up the root. It protects the root, and also it is helpful in the connection of periodontal fibers from the tooth to the alveolar bone. It gives attachment to the PDL, as we have discussed, covers the root surface. It is the thinnest at the cemento-enamel junction. It continuously forms throughout the life. So cementum continue from the root surface up to the area where the enamel starts, and the part where the enamel and cementum meet, it is known as cemento-enamel junction. So basically, enamel can be described into two junctions. First one is the dentino enamel junction, another one is the cemento enamel junction. The cementum is helpful to keep the tooth in its functional form. The cementum is formed by the cementoblasts. The region of cementum which contains the cells are known as the cellular cementum, and everything apart from this region is known as acellular cementum. The acellular cementum actually provides the anchorage to the tooth. Anchorage means uh, making the tooth into certain position and binding it to that position. And cellular cementum actually helps the tooth to adapt. Adaptation would be to the forces, as we have already discussed that the tooth, the different kind of cells do contribute during any kind of stresses. So whenever there is an excessive stress, the cellular cementum do form more of the cementum, with the help of cementoblasts, and these cementoblasts will be continuously forming the cementum and helping the root to be more able to adapt the forces which is it is undergoing. Now comes the periodontal ligament. The periodontal ligament is a fibrous connective tissue. It anchors the tooth to the bone. It have a wavy course. PDL have the formative cells which we have already discussed. Those formative cells are known as osteoblast or cementoblast. Also, it consists of the fibroblast. The fibroblasts are helpful in the generation of more PDL fibers. In addition to the above, they also consist of the resorptive cells. These resorptive cells are named as osteoclast and cementoclast. These clast cells are actually helpful for the resorption. This resorption is rarely seen in the cementum because of so many factors, but it is mostly seen into the alveolar bone. So these are very commonly discussed in the alveolar bone anatomy and its resorption and adaptation type of topics. Now comes the alveolar bone. Alveolar bone forms the alveolar socket of the teeth. Actually, these alveolar sockets are the socket in which the tooth is present. These alveolar bone actually develops during the eruption of the teeth, and they disappears whenever the teeth goes out. So as we have if anybody is aware of the clinical things, then they might be knowing that during the normal eruption of the tooth, this before the eruption of the tooth, this gum pads are very smooth, but after the eruption of the tooth, they forms the socket for holding the tooth. And after the extraction of the teeth, when all of the teeth are extracted or they are lost, then these alveolar sockets become smooth again, and if these are not properly taken care of, then these bone will slowly resorb and it will become really flat, that it will cause problem in the adaptation of any kind of complete denture or the aid we want to contribute into the helping of the um, old patients to chew food. So now comes the basic structure of the bone. This is really similar to other bones, but they also consist of the bundle bone at mid of the compact bone lining and supporting the tooth structure. The buccal and the lingual plates of the compact bone encloses the cancellous bone. Now comes the arrangement. The arrangement and density of the cancellous bone totally depends upon the amount of masticatory force which is applied over the bone. The ability of the bone to form under the tension and resorb under the pressure allows the orthodontic treatments. Basically, during the orthodontic treatments, the part of the bone is resorbed with excessive force provided by the tooth, and in that particular resorbed portion the tooth movement is done, and whenever the tooth movement proceeds, the other part of the bone which is now empty will be again formed, and in this process the osteoclast and the osteoblast are continuously contributing and are really very important